And we are ready to go. I can talk louder than they can sing in there. We are so happy to present our next speaker. And this is our last breakout session. From here, I hope you'll make your way to the main stage where there will be another speaker and something from Steve and a closing, and we'll call it a night. But we're just so glad that you were all here. So let me introduce Mike Muhney. Did I say that right, Mike? No, but you're not first. Well, so tell me what it is. Muhney. I can do that. Mike Muhney. Mike is the CEO and co-founder of VIPorbit. All right, I didn't want to say VIP. VIPorbit, a software company focused on mobile contact management solutions initially designed for the iPhone and iPad. Perhaps Mike is best known as the co-founder and co-inventor of ACT, the product that created the contact management category globally and has been used by more than 10 million customers since its release. He's also the co-author of Who is in Your Orbit Beyond Facebook, Creating Relationships That Matter. Welcome, Mike Muhney.
For kids.
Okay. So do you want to create a company around this and then market it to schools or for kids or something?
First I did. After going to these seminars, I'm learning that it should be a component of the company, not just the company. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've been reading and hearing since I've been here.
Okay. Just gives me a sense of orientation. Ariel, by the way, I did go to your website and looked at some of your stuff, so.
Okay, so my name is Ariel Pashtan, and I'm a developer of mobile applications. I've been in the business of cellular and applications for, some 20 years or so. Right now I developed an app called ClickTalk, it's a mobile app, which allows users to communicate through blogs and forums. And I'm at a stage where I'm interested in seeing how to market, how to sell, find customers, possibly enterprises that may be interested in what I did.
Okay, so your orientation really is then you have an app, you're now looking for a way to market it, as opposed to do I even do an app or not, and how can it help my business?
Right, I already have it.
Yeah.
It's more a matter of marketing it,
yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
See, I would tell you you should use VIPorbit to help you with your customers to promote your business. That's what I would tell you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mike. My name is Paul. I
Hi, Paul.
have 3 different businesses, none of which I can figure out how apps fit to, so I'm here for ideas and just kind of learn more about it. I have a franchise consulting business where we help people find franchise businesses. I have a training and coaching program where we teach businesses and nonprofits and executives in transition how to better use joint ventures, referrals, endorsements, and other partnering strategies. From a previous life as a corporate attorney, I do a lot of connecting on the investment side, projects to money, money to projects, and that type of thing. Okay. So I haven't figured out where the app fits in on any of those.
Could be a few apps from what you
Could
said.
very well be. I'm just trying to get my hands around it. It hasn't been a priority to date, and I need to think about it and figure out where it fits.
Is there any intent to basically, as I have with the VIPorbit, start a company to then market. Be a company that continues to develop and promote and create a, a market opportunity for yourself. Yes or no?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, that's give
Yep.
me a sense. Okay.
I'm basically with her.
You're just along for
Well-
the ride. Hey, okay, all right. I say the same thing every once in a while to my wife. What can we say? And
He's a good man. My name's Teresa Carter, and I own a website called The Local Tourist. And right now, it's based in Chicago. Helps people figure out where to go and what to
you
do.
started following us.
Yes,
me.
I did.
Okay,
Yes, I
saw
did.
you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's- okay,
And
good.
so, of course, I need an app because about 15% of my traffic is on mobile phones right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I definitely the location's there. I need to make a location-based app, and I need to know how to do it.
Okay.
So.
You're going to say you're with me, right?
Does he have to, Dad?
I'm Alex Strzeski. I'm here with my dad to learn about this, I guess.
Yes. My name is Peter Jacobson. I sold the business about, God, it's been so long, it's about 6 months ago. And anyway, I'm looking for something to do, and I just bought into a system to develop apps. But I still don't have a lot of understanding of what, they're apps for small businesses, by the way. A lot of you, I could help you out in there. But again, I've got a learning curve to go through. But I need to understand the whole scheme of things, and that's why I'm here, is to ask the expert.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't know that I would call myself an expert. What I will say is I have a long-standing, which means I'm old, experience in software development, going back to the PC and DOS and Windows environment with ACT, and now with VIPorbit as a true app, and the whole ecosystem that surrounds the process. So what I am intending on giving you, by the way, sir, my iPhone remote doesn't work because I can't link it up to this for some reason. I don't have Wi-Fi to the hotel, that's why. Since I'm checked out, I don't have access to Wi-Fi, so does it, do you? So what I hope to do, and again, I'm going to talk fast because I'm going to try to get through as much breath as I can. If you want to interrupt me and say, well, I don't get that, fine, tell me, but there are a lot of considerations to make in just where do I begin? And so let me tell you my own story so you understand where I came from and why I chose the path I did. Because in part, the answer to your questions are going to be, well, why are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for yourself, but what device are you using? That might be a good place to begin. So I gave up Windows in 2004 and I went to Apple and became a purist, Apple purist, and then I bought the iPhone when it came out in 2007. By 2009, I was a very frustrated iPhone user in relationship management because I had the DNA of ACT. I had the DNA of a seamlessly integrated, robust application that did run on a desktop notebook computer. I wanted it on my phone now, and had I had a BlackBerry phone, I would have done it for BlackBerry because I did it for me first. I needed it myself. Fortunately, I didn't have a BlackBerry, right? Because BlackBerry is nearly dead now. It would have been a horrible investment. It would have been a waste of my money. I had an iPhone, and so I said, hey, a lot of people have iPhones, and I know that a lot of people bought ACT, which was designed by my partner and me for ourselves first, knowing, well, surely there'll be other people that might be able to use it, but we designed it for ourselves, and I did the same thing with VIPorbit, and it's on the phone because I had the phone. And Apple is a rich, growing, hot market, so it was a good business decision to build a company around it. And in the Apple world, there isn't really any kind of a relationship manager other than one product that's pretty old and it's very expensive and it's never reached the mass market, ever. I used to use it, okay, so I know a little bit about it. I even talked to the CEO of the company many years ago. All right, so that was me, just so you know how I began. So I'm going to kind of go through I'm not going to spend time on this, you saw this the other day, but it's the same thing. You're basically entrepreneurs in this. This could lead to a business. So you have to ask yourself the most important question, why are you doing this? I do have a friend who built an app. It's called Simple Lists. It sells for 99 cents. He didn't do it to sell it to anybody. He did it because he just wanted the pride of saying, I designed an app and it's up on the App Store. That's the whole reason he built the app. Everything else is cream. He's not building a business around it, nothing. I'm at the other extreme. I'm going to create a whole market that I want to penetrate. I want to conquer the world. That's a pretty big gap, right? Where are you in that spectrum? Where do you want to be in that spectrum? Because where you decide you want to be is going to determine a lot of these other things. I'm going to say, well, you got to think of this and this and this and this and this then, right? So I'm going to continue on if you don't ask any questions. So you've got to answer that for yourself. So I just basically said, is this a business or a hobby? Business. Anybody here, hobby? Sound like everybody's a business. Your hobby for you, business for everybody else. Okay, well that has more complicated, serious implications and cost. Let's not forget, okay, who is the customer? You're pretty clear, people that want your travel services. You have the benefit of having a website, though, so that they could at least do some stuff there, and transactions and awareness and all that. You're just trying to get it, to facilitate even a closer relationship with them through their device, right? Okay, a little bit, so there's a variation, that's a hybrid, right? I built a product, and then we created the website to give information about the product to lead you to the App Store. You know, it's kind of a, you know, there's just all these pieces that have to come together. So who is the customer, though? Do you know the answer to that question? Okay, all right. I mean, some of this is going to sound like duh, but you'd be surprised how you could forget some simple things. And all I'm trying to do, my job today, as I understood it, was just to say, look, here's some items in the puzzle of putting together an app and everything that surrounds it. Okay? All right. Is there competition already? Since everyone except, what's your name again, Alex? Alex, you're the only hobbyist here. Since everybody else was a business, there must be competition already. Are you aware of it? Yes or no? Okay. Are you intending to leapfrog it, be more sophisticated than it, be cheaper than it, but therefore not as functional as it? I mean, where are you going to fit on the competitive scale relative to the competitors out there? Because that's going to determine, are people going to like your app and choose it or not? And if you're trying to do this for money, because we haven't gotten to that one yet, is it free or paid? You know, you've got to think about that. What is the value for the price compared to competition? When I looked at the competition before I started to design VIPorbit, I was fully aware of everybody, and I put it together in my business plan, and I gave the pluses and minuses. But I knew I was way beyond their level. And that's not an arrogant statement. Again, my DNA is contact management. I know what I'm talking about. I know what it really should be comprised of. It was obvious that it was designed, these other products were designed by, and I'm saying this respectfully and figuratively speaking, probably some kids that had a couple of cases of beer over a few weekends and thought, oh, we could put this together, let's have some fun, and they were hackers, and they did. But they had no experience or understanding in the business world of what constitutes real contact management, okay? So I knew I was going to go way beyond them. But I did do a competitive analysis. I had to. Partly because I knew my vision is so big. I mean, this is only the beginning of the ballgame for me. I'm a funded company. I've already closed my second round of funding, and I already have venture capital promised for the third round, okay? Because my vision is huge. This is just the ticket into the ball game for me, all right? And so I had to have competitive understanding. They wanted to know, well, who's out there beside you? What's the threat? What's the risk? What's the competitive edge a window we're gonna have if we decide to invest in you, right? And most importantly, what's the value proposition? What's your product going to give the user? You have to have the answer to this question. You have to know it. Do you know it? Have you put it down? Have you put this down on paper? Or is this still all in your head? Okay, you've got to put this down on paper. I mean, did you attend, for example, did anybody attend Sam's breakout session today? You know, just thinking through these things. You know, it is important to document on paper, the old-fashioned way, why the answer to all these questions, because you have to be able to articulate it. You're all of a sudden going to become the expert. If this is your vision, by default, you're the expert. You better be able to articulate your vision and why people are going to want this. Otherwise, this is just a personal fun thing, and that's fine too. Like I said, my friend did it for personal fun. But if you want to go beyond that, these are things you have to consider. Okay, so is it a consumer product or is it an enterprise product? Paul, yours could well be enterprise. The rest of yours, education, kind of enterprise consumer. It's kind of in the middle, kind of, right? You know, could be both. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, what is it? I am not an enterprise system yet. I call it a prosumer, the business consumer. We're all consumers, but I'm not talking about buying flip-flops. I'm talking about, the prosumer who isn't in business, who now has a smartphone and or a tablet, who wants productivity applications on those devices now. That's a prosumer to me. So I even coined, not that I made it up, I'm sure I heard it from somebody else, but I've chosen to use that word. I'm after the prosumer, which all that says is it's not the high school kids consumers, and it's not the enterprise. It's in the middle, the prosumer. But I know where my market is, even though it's still pretty big and wide open yet, right? You've got to answer that question. Because we haven't gotten to the marketing of this yet. And the marketing is designed to attend to your target audience. Well, that's why you have to know the answer to this question. They could be. I might work for, Boeing. They're headquartered here in Chicago. Or I might work for Boeing. That's certainly an enterprise. But in the world we live in today, here's my comeback on that. As far as VIPorbit, so I'm going to give you some personal opinion built around why I'm doing what I'm doing, is we live in a blended world today. And we live in a world where the momentum in the market is now bring your own device. The big enterprises no longer are diminished, if they still are, attempting to, mandating which equipment I'm going to use. No, I want to use my iPad and I already own it, and I'm going to use my iPad. So you figure out the security issues, but that's the device I'm using. I already have a phone. I don't want another company phone. I'm not going to carry two phones. Either you let me use this one, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. And for the first time, the user is empowered, and IT is having to march to their tune. That's a very interesting concept in the enterprise market now. But we're blended. So let's say, and we blend our personal with our business. So let's say Boeing makes me use a product like, I'll pick a name that we're familiar with, Salesforce.com. But on the side, I'm a photographer on the weekend. I film weddings, or I belong to a hobbyist group, or a pro bono legal stuff that has nothing to do with Boeing. Where do I put those people? Where does that stuff go? It doesn't belong in Boeing. I'm not going to put it there. So in fact, I could have a dual system user. Right? And so either way you slice it with me doesn't matter to me. I can go up into the enterprise, but it's a single user version right now. Enterprise kind of, if not kind of, it almost does, if not it does, imply shared information. I don't have that ability yet. I will by the end of the year, okay, or shortly thereafter, because software is never on time. Okay, free or paid? Big difference. Big difference. Let me tell you, I can't tell you how many people, Act sold for list price for $395. Over 10 million people have bought it, right? It's kind of, hey, it's a computer product. Software is a little bit more expensive. Great. Now I think it's only like $150 today or whatever. But the app world mentality is free, for the most part. I can't tell you how many people tell me, you want $9.99 one time for your app? Oh my gosh, that's highway robbery. I'm not kidding. The mentality of the market today of the app user is cheap. You will have to make everything up on volume or a multitude of family of products, which is where I'm headed in SaaS model and monthly, annuity, et cetera, in my roadmap. This is, like I said, this is just the ticket in the ball game to start to seed the market, blah, 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 right? So I know what my strategy is and I know what my tactics are, of which you're going to have to employ both. But fundamentally, is it free or paid? Yours, I would imagine, would be free. You just want to make it another way to facilitate their knowing about you. Why would you charge them for that? They probably won't choose it then, right? If you want to start a business to do something, you might want to make some, if you want to stay in business, unless you're super wealthy and you like to throw money away, then you're going to have to charge for it to stay in business, at least have the hope of it. Okay, well, that's fine. Education, you might be funded by the government or the county or something, right? That might be partly what funds this development and ongoing maintenance. But you still have to decide, free or paid. And then if it is paid, how much? There are very few over $10 products in the iPhone. There's very few over $20 products on the iPad. There are some, there's some $100 ones. I've seen them. And it doesn't take many people to make a lot of money. you can make a lot of money, but you still need quite a few people, but it's the economic elasticity issue, right? The higher price I charge, the less customers I probably am going to get. So where is that balance? Where is it, right? And you're going to say, well, free, I'll do advertising. Everybody says that, but first of all, we still haven't gotten to the marketing, because if you're not discovered, let me tell you, you're not even going to make thousandths of a penny on the advertising revenue you'll generate. There is no money in it unless you have a lot of people using your free product. I mean, hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Then it kind of gets interesting. But for the time being, there ain't no money in advertising that you're going to make on a free app. So it's going to cost you to create the app. Real cash, one way or another, unless you're a brilliant hacker yourself, it's going to cost you money to have this developed. Okay? All right. Oh, now we get to the platform issue. Is this web or is it native? VIPorbit is native. By that I mean the code and the database reside on the device itself. We have nothing to do with the web. Zero. Other than when you select Backup My Stuff, which is an app within the app. So I actually have two apps, one inside the other. Because if you lose your device, you've lost your database. For the exorbitant price of $5 a year, you can subscribe to, which is the cost of one Starbucks cup of coffee a year, and people complain, $5 to back up. Oh my gosh, Dropbox is free. Well, Dropbox doesn't keep the data of this kind of a product, so you can't back it up on Dropbox, right? Sorry. But it's insurance, $5 a year, and we replicate, when you're in a Wi-Fi zone anywhere in the world, you touch that button and it replicates the database in the cloud, in fact, the last 10 databases. You lose your device, it's stolen, whatever, you go get a new one, you download VIPorbit, Apple says, oh, you've paid for it again, you don't have to pay for it, and then you hit the restore button, and here's your last 10 databases, and voila, you pick presumably the most recent one you backed up, and it downloads it to your phone, you're back in business. You didn't skip a beat. It's insurance, okay? So I actually had to build two apps, okay? But I chose native because, there's a lot of pluses and minuses with anything. Apple is a single environment. Single, worldwide. The same iOS, as it's called, the operating system that works on the Apple iPhone in America, is the same one that was going to work in China, in Yemen, in Germany. It's the same iOS. It makes it very nice as a developer because I have one operating system when we have, and all software has bugs, that's why we all on our phones get these little red buttons that say there's an upgrade, an update, right? Those are all bug fixes most of the time. That's an ongoing cost and responsibility. Somebody's going to have to monitor the bugs, and there will be bugs, I guarantee it. There is no perfect software, ever, okay? So that makes it nice from an iPhone standpoint because it's one update that goes to one system globally. Web, perfect. You can have it go via, if it's a web-based system, which pretty much means for those of you that are technical, an HTML5 type of a product that runs on all devices, it's pretty simple as well, okay, generally speaking. Where it gets complicated is Android, and we're going to get there, okay? Who's going to develop this for you? How many of you who are here actually can code? You're programmers. Okay, 2 people. That means you're probably going to have to hire somebody. All right, you're looking at some cost, or if you're going to start a company, okay, I'll give you some stock. I hope this is a big company, and you get this percentage, I get this percentage. But if it's not ever going to be a big company, it's almost like, yeah, it's not worth anything. So it would almost be because they're really good friends or family, and they just love you, and they're willing to do it, right? But if it's not that case, you're going to have to pay somebody to do it. I'm at the stage where I did not want to, nor did I need to, hire my own full-time developers. I don't need that burden yet. So I did choose an outsourced firm. They happen to be headquartered in Austin, Texas. I'm in Dallas, so just about 3 hours south of me, so it's easy to drive back and forth. They do have some of their programmers in Russia and places like that, so we get the benefit of 24/7 coding. So coders in Russia can work and be done and pass it off to the US team ready in the morning when we all wake up in America, right? And there's other programmers that they have around the organization. And I vetted them, so I don't have time to get into it, but I had to vet them, check them out, references and all that, because this is a pretty serious decision. This is a marriage. And they know your code base. You are going to be dependent on them, okay? Now, I know you haven't seen VIPorbit unless you've downloaded it, but just take a wild guess what a mobile relationship management product does that is, desktop powered like on a mobile device. Just take a guess, wild guess what it costs me, not the ongoing maintenance, just to finish this version 1 and get it on the market. Just the code itself, the programming to do it. Take a guess at what it cost me to do VIPorbit. Real fast, we don't have a lot of time. No guess? No guess? Okay, 500. Huh? 70? 250. Exactly 250. It costs $250,000, but here's what this firm is very reputable. One of their biggest clients is Motorola, just coincidentally here in Chicago. Long-standing Motorola sticks with them to do a lot of their mobile stuff. These are sharp people. Trust me. They said this VIPorbit was so much more complicated. If we had charged you on an hourly basis, it took us 5,000 hours, average $100 an hour. That's $500,000. It otherwise should have cost me. I got lucky. Now, I've stuck with them, and they've developed the iPad version. I've already, on those 2 products, and I've already spent over $500,000 for what looks like it's just an app. It can't be that complicated. Well, okay. Because it was a fixed price contract originally. Sorry, I didn't say that. Okay, so that's another thing. If you're going to have it done outside, how are you going to negotiate? Fixed price? You want to take the risk? Or actually, they would take more of the risk, but they might come ahead too. Hey, you committed to pay this, and they really only cost them this. They made a bunch of profit on you, or they went over and it saved you some money. That's just the gamble you got to decide you're going to take. Okay? All right. How will you market it? Oh, this is where it gets interesting. If you're going to spend all this money to do this, now the game really starts. You're just going to develop it and say, well, here it is. Surely they'll find it. No. So who's going to be your evangelist? Who's going to advocate it? Where's it going to be posted? Is this something that lends itself to journalists writing about it? Are there pertinent media outlets is there a press release that this is worthy of to begin the effort of creating attention, et cetera, et cetera? You've got a website, so you've got subscribers, I'll presume. You could easily, in your case, just email them, hey, we now have a mobile version, and this is all you have to do to download it, and blah, blah, blah. Pretty much done in your case. Okay, but from my standpoint, what you're doing, or maybe going to be doing, is just an extension of something you already have, as opposed to starting something new here. Whole different story. Okay, I started from scratch. All right. Yes?
Actually, it's the previous slide. Most apps, or I should say a very large proportion, I don't know if it's most, are free today, right? So would you say that the most, and I don't believe they have millions of users, right? So are most developers actually losing money on these?
Yes. Actually, I read it's a good question. I read all the mobile stuff every day. TechCrunch, Mashable, I keep up in the industry because I'm in the industry. I better know what's going on. The other day they came out and said let me put it the other way. 4 out of 5 apps developed never exceed 1,000 downloads, ever. Mm-hmm. That's scary. Right. That's very scary. I'm going to do all this work, all this energy, all this money and time, and I'm never even going to exceed 1,000 downloads, ever? You better consider that, okay? So that's just another touch point.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to move fast because we're losing time here. So what are your expectations? This is normal. None of this is anything other than common sense, but they are the scope of your effort, your point in the road that you are. Do you have money to invest in your app? Because it's going to cost money. One way or the other, it's going to cost you money. How deep is your pocket? And I will tell you this, expect to at least double what you think it's going to cost. It's a safer assumption than saying it's going to cost X and it costs X. No, it's probably going to cost X plus X, at least. Yeah, it might even be squared. I totally agree. It could be 3 times X. It's going to cost more than you think. Okay. in time, in money, and in determination. How passionate are you about this, and what's your stick-to-itiveness quotient, tolerance, whatever you want to call it? Because if this is serious, to somebody, this is really going to consume them from just the effort, the daily effort, okay, to just make this succeed and be worth what you think it's worth and make your customers aware of it. You know, I mean, marketing is wide open. You might want to get some customer testimonials. I love this app because it meant this to me. But, you know, because a long time ago, remember where we started, you created a value proposition, what they're going to get out of it. Now you got somebody to say, that's true, this is what I got out of it. But now you got to promote that. So it's a never-ending journey. Once you're in it, you're in it. Okay? All right. Where are you going to start? Okay, I'm going to go through this very quickly here. Okay, so here's some options. Platform, native or web, we kind of touched on that. Now devices, is it mobile only? Is it tablet? Is it both? The tablet, I can tell you for a fact, the Apple users, you know, iPhone and iPad, they no longer like having an iPhone product run on the iPad. It can, they all do, but it looks like an iPhone product, and they say, you're not taking advantage of the iPad. I don't like this app at all, won't use it. Create an iPad version. So now the 3 squared, or the 2x squared, is now x plus y squared. Yeah, cubed. Because now you got 2 products if you're going to do iPhone and iPad, for example. And if it's even Android, you got Android and Android tablet. And it's even worse with Android. We haven't gotten there yet. Okay, so here's what I'm going to show. Whoops, sorry. I'm just showing you. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast here. There we go. Okay, so this is me. This is what happened to Mike Muhney deciding I'm going to do this. I'm just showing you a guy like me. This is a piece of paper. I took the iPhone, I measured the screen size, and I drew squares on a blank piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, and I started in pencil designing what I think I wanted the layout to look like. This started in June 2009. This is I use an Apple, but I have Microsoft Office for Mac. This is Word, and I just use some of the colored graphic, items to begin to visualize it a little bit more colorfully, but this is this on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it the way I did. I'm just showing you how I did it. How do you start to design software? Well, what's it supposed to look like when it's all done? This was kind of the main activity screen, if you will. There are many other screens, but this was kind of going to be the one where I spent most of the time in the product. All right, so then this is still Word, and I created the dashboard, the home screen. So this is, if I hit activities and to-dos, this button right here, and I gave a description of what I was intending on doing, this is the screen I would have gotten, which really is this screen here. Then I bought a tool, a prototype tool, so I could really start to make it look like what it might look like on the phone. This is still using my MacBook Pro, but it has the template of an iPhone, so you have more of a realistic view of what this product could look like. Then we took it to this step. And by the way, at this point, I engaged some of my old team from the ACT era, the brain trust, if you will, who are with me today. And we started refining my design. I mean, no one individual has the perfect design. Collaboration does help a lot, right? You have to be careful. You have to make decisions because you can't please the whole world. But this is now the first result of 3 people working on the design. You see the progression of how it started to look a little bit different. By this time, this was February of 2010. Between here and the very first version of VIPorbit for the iPhone, this is version 1 and this is version 2, there's a year apart. This came out in February 2011. This came out in February 2012, this year. This is the iPad version, portrait and landscape, same product, just showing portrait and landscape. This came out this past February. So this started in June of 2009. This is what I look like today. Just showing you kind of a process, that's all. All right. Then you got to think about, this is not a screen that we have. I just kind of put a bunch of things together for purposes of describing. So now you've created an app. What are you going to call it? What's the name of the app? You got to trademark it. We have a lawyer in the audience. Are you going to trademark it? What are you going to do to protect it? Are you going to check out to see if you're going to violate anybody? I can tell you, this is, by the way, everybody can have a free copy of my book when you leave. And this is a smartphone holder for you for your desk if you want to take one. You just kind of snap it and it'll hold your phone on your desk. Okay. Anyway, this is the original logo of my product. And I have spent over $100,000 with my law firm for everything I've done so far. Shareholders agreements, trademarks, European trademarks, blah. I trademarked the byline, who's in your orbit. I'm trying to protect myself. I didn't go to China because they're going to steal it anyway and, blah, blah, blah. So, you have to just say, I'm only going to spend so much money, but I have to cover myself, right? I spent over $100,000. At the end of the period where somebody could say I've violated their trademark, Vonage sent an email to our office saying, you've infringed on our logo. They have a true, in my case, boomerang with a dot. They call it the V dot. They were bullies, big bullies. And it would have cost me, I was told, I have a lawyer in the audience here, phase one, if I wanted to fight it, I would cost upwards of $50,000. If I made it past that, it would cost me another $150 to $250 to protect it. And I only had a 60% chance of winning it. Could have cost me $200 to $300, the $100,000 to try to save that. I said, screw it, right? So I came up with this. This is the new logo that's going to be on the product soon enough. But you have to come up with a name, you have to come up with the design, you have to check the design so you don't violate anybody else's design. All of that costs money. What category are you in? You're somewhere. You're something. What category? Of course, your website you got to get, and then what's your byline? What do you want people to remember of it so that they have that mind share that you've obtained, right? So I'm going to skip past this real quick. I don't want to show you there's just stuff that you're already aware of. I'll show you the other presentation that was meant for today, and we'll go through this very quickly. Okay, because we haven't really gotten down to the design yet. Now, you would think, because of my experience and how I describe software and what I want, what my vision is, that that's what would be produced. Wrong. I can tell you that there are things in VIPorbit right now that is not what I wanted it to be. But it's because of a loss in translation between me and the developers because of outsourcing it and having a project manager in between that is the conduit. Even though we wireframed it, which meant we kind of prototyped it and see what it looks like on the screen, and we documented it like a blueprint. Doesn't matter. People interpret things differently. And so that is an issue that costs you extra money. No, you've got to fix it. Oh, well, we'll fix it, but it's going to cost you for us to fix it. Why should it cost me? You didn't do what I said. But we did do what you said. You accepted the wireframes. And you just say, oh my gosh, when I say it's going to cost more than you think, it will. So here's an example. Some of you may have seen this. This is what somebody would interpret as specified in the project. That's how they build it. And you go, well, that's not what I wanted. Somebody else says, well, I thought that's what you designed it to do and look like. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Okay, here's what the programmers thought you wanted. Yep, that's not what I wanted. And then if you have other people that implement it, that's how they understood it to put it together and make it work for somebody. Nope, that's a little complicated. When all along, that's what the end user wanted and would like and is elegant and simple. All I'm saying, somewhat facetiously but very seriously, the design of the product is not over when you put it on paper and say, there, I've designed it. It is a living thing that has to be tweaked all along. That's time and money. Okay? All right, so what are some of the pitfalls? You didn't study your market well enough. And you discovered nobody cares about it, nobody will ever use it, competition crushed it already, we can't even penetrate competition, nothing. I'm not saying to do a Harvard-level MBA research and, hey, you know what, if we all had to analyze the market before we did anything, nothing would get done. Seriously, we did no market research for ACT. We were just two sales guys that said, I know what I wanted it to do, let's design it, and hopefully somebody will buy it. Now, if you can get away with it, fine. But I'm saying you have to do at least a little bit. We have the internet today. I didn't have the internet back in the ACT era, right? You should do some research, okay? Are you going to design it for yourself or design for the masses? This may sound like I don't quite get it, or I don't, but my attitude, and just my opinion, If this was for a nuclear reactor facility, an app for a nuclear reactor, I probably am not going to use nuclear stuff, okay? So I have to design it for the mass market of nuclear facilities globally. Okay, that's a different mindset. But if this is a product that, can be used by a lot of people, it has to start with you. You're the expert, remember? So design it for yourself because you can never design for the masses. It'll be the kitchen sink with everything in it. And if I went across the room right now and said, what do you think you'd like to have in a contact manager? Okay. I would have so many different comments, and it'd be, where do I begin? Oh my gosh, I can't please all of you. And if I did, it would look like a Rube Goldberg mess, right? Okay. Design for yourself, period. Trust your instincts. Ask questions, prototype it, show close friends, what do you think? Can you imagine using this? Yeah, well, what, am I missing anything? Do that, but don't try to think, how would the whole world want this to look? Okay? All right, pitfall 4. Come on. I think I've addressed this enough. Marketing is going to consume even more time and effort towards this than the development of the product, because that never stops. You can kind of stop the product once it's out. Okay, little bug fixes, but like I said, between version 1 and 2, there was a year. You can kind of stop and slow it down a little bit, but marketing only intensifies over that period of time. This is where most of your time and energy and money is going to be spent after it's all said and done. Okay, I think, depending on the app, I think one of the most neglected areas or misunderstood areas that it could be the reason people love you, and maybe it does help you to become a real business and a force in the market, is because the quality of your customer support. Did I go past here? Yep. Come on. Where was it? 6.5. There we go. Come on. Like this little puppy. Come on. Here we go. All right. Customer support could make or break your company, and let's emphasize the make. It's a distinguishing characteristic. I personally, I think if you heard me speak Friday, I go through the downloads every week, and if I can detect an email address and the type of business people are in, I personally send them an email. Hey, thanks for buying the product. I'm here for you. Feel free to call me. Would like to talk to you, hear a little more about what you're doing, blah, 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 because I'm gathering information from people that have, put money on the table, right? That's meaningful to me. Our customer support department, we have a free version of VIPorbit. It's a full version, but it's only good up to 100 contacts we import from your built-in address book. It's a try before you buy is what it really is. But it gives you a chance before you commit to all of $10 to see, hey, is this cool or not, right? We support people. I mean, my lady will spend an hour on this, answering personally. I mean, even getting me involved because of the symbolism of the CEO being involved on how many CEOs for a little app get talked to a customer? Very few. I'm going to use that to my advantage as long as I can. At some point, that's not going to be possible. I will admit that. But in the early days, you want to be as heavily oriented toward this as you can, because that's how people talk about it. Man, they take good care of me. I didn't pay a penny for this, and you know what? They spent an hour with me figuring out my problem. Hopefully, we don't have too much of that to do, but we'll do it if we have to do it. And that's the attitude that we have right now. Okay, I already addressed this going over budget. I'm not going to say anything more. It's going to cost you more than you think, period. And, come on. There's some principles I've learned in my long history as a software developer, beginning with ACT, and it's this. There is infinite demand for the unavailable. You go to people and say, hey, if I did this, would you use it? Oh, yeah, man, that'd be fantastic. And then you spend $100,000 on this little puppy, and then nobody uses it. But you told me you'd use it. Well, yeah, I did, but it's really fine the way it is. I don't really need it. Geez, I wish you would have told me that before, right? I guarantee it. This is a principle. Embrace it. Infinite demand for the unavailable, okay? I'm going to stop here. I know I'm out of time, or just maybe even a little bit ahead of time. It doesn't sound like Steve talking, so maybe they're running over too. Any questions, comments? I'm sorry? Okay, yeah, so I'm just trying to be a little bit broad for you to understand all of these. It's an ecosystem. It's not just an app. Okay, and so if you see this as a business and it's going to take money, hey, do a business plan. Try to raise some funds, right? And go for it. That goes back to that poet that has inspired me, and I think should inspire you as well. Of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these, what might have been. I'm not trying to discourage you from this. I'm just trying to say there's more to it. Just be aware of it. But go for it if that's your dream. By all means, go for it. It could launch an entire new career for you that you didn't even imagine. And I mean that. That could be a wonderful thing. Could also destroy a lot of things too, right? Could destroy a marriage, could destroy a relationship, could destroy your employment because you're spending too much time over here and you're not productive in your other job. I mean, there's a lot of consequences. I'm just trying to say, take it from an old soldier who's made some mistakes. I don't want you to make them if you don't have to. So, anything else? Oh yes, I'm glad you said that. There really are only two real, well, there's three. I mean, there's web, where it runs on any device, HTML5. That's a good thing. It's real easy to make an update. It just kind of goes to the cloud, and it just works, because the code is up here, and you're only doing basically one code base. But what it means is understand when you do something that applies to everything out there, there are compromises in the way it looks on each device, okay? The benefit with Apple is VIPorbit looks the same here as it does in China. And they even use their funny characters, but it still looks the same, for example, right? Or Germany or whatever. By the way, this is an interesting statistic. 52% of my customer base is international. I'm more of an international company than I am a domestic company. That surprises me. The number 2 country in the world that's the user of VIPorbit is France. I would have never guessed that. They're particular about their French language, and they're using an English product. But I've localized it so it conforms to okay, I'm getting off track. I'm just letting you know that you are a global company in many ways when you have an app, because it's accessible globally, right? Also, watch the App Store, because people can put good and bad comments on there. And any comment, you can't touch those comments. They stay there for everybody to see, good, right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay, that's why you have to do a lot of this work up front. But Android, so iOS, which is Apple, is one platform. Android, I kid you not, there was an infographic that came out by TechCrunch about 4 weeks ago. There are literally in the world today over 4,000 versions of Android. When you say to me, are you going to do Android? My response to you as a developer is, which of 4,000 versions are you talking about? I can't do all 4,000. Matter of fact, I can only maybe do one. Which one do you want me to do it for? You can't do it for Android is Android. No, it's not. Android is open source. What that means is it's free, and I can take it and say, I'm gonna get rid of that part, I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna blop this other thing on there, and I'm gonna kind of modify this over here, and I'm gonna make Android look for me what I want it to look like, and that's me. Well, that's not what everybody else is doing, so there's 4,000 versions today. The top 3 Android versions for mobile devices are Samsung number 1, HTC number 2, and Motorola number 3. But there's no guarantee that's what's going to stay the same a year from now. So if you spend all your money thinking, I'll do the top 2, Samsung and HTC might fall off the face of the earth next year, and you've wasted, or compromised, maybe not wasted, but compromised that. So it's a tougher decision, right? I will tell you from the tablet standpoint, Gartner came out 2 weeks ago, Gartner, the big research firm, and said by the end of 2016, there will be 665 million tablets on the market by then, and the majority of them are going to be the iPad. Apple is pretty protected on the iPad market share through 2016, maybe beyond 2, but through 2016 looks pretty cool. Now, something could happen. I'm just telling you what the people who study this stuff are saying, okay? They put a lot of money into doing their research. This is what they're saying. So now there is another interesting Android device that you might consider if you're going to go to Android, and that's the Amazon Fire tablet. But that again is its own Android version. That Android version is not going to look the same on a Samsung Android device. So now you've compromised and you've multiplied the effort to support it, to maintain it, the cost of, if there's bugs in your code base and you got to ship it out to all these different Android users, you pretty much have to have a different version. You're sending each of them. Who's going to do all this for you? It gets complicated. And here's another very interesting statistic. Not my opinion, it's a fact. Forrester came out, the same big research firm, and said about 6 months ago or thereabouts, a study between the iPhone users and Android users. And again, we say Android as if it's one, but it's many, but let's just keep it as a single entity, 2 single entities. Less than 10% of Android users are willing to pay for an app, period. They won't pay anything. They are so averse to paying a penny, it just doesn't happen. That's number one. Conversely, the iPhone user, over 68% of iPhone users gladly pay for apps and have on average 5 paid apps on their phone. From a business standpoint, I'm in business to make money. It costs me a lot to develop. Where am I going to go? The answer is obvious. There's no money over here. There's not a business over here. If it's just for the fun of having an app that runs on Android because I'm an Android user, fine. But you could still be an Android user. You still might consider developing for Apple because that's where the money is. Okay? So be very aware of that because that's a very serious decision because it commits you, right? So people today ask me, well, are you ever going to have VIPorbit on Android? My answer is probably not. Sorry, get an Apple device. I know that sounds crude and rude. Get an Apple device, or I will say that there's a likelihood down the road I will do an HTML5 version, which means it'll adapt to your screen. You know, because when you think of Android, I mean, let's take a country like Kenya. You know, they have little $20 phones with a tiny screen that's running Android. Well, that little tiny cheap phone is not the same as a beautiful $400 Samsung, Android phone. Just the two differences there in Android, your product is not going to look the same. It's not going to run the same. Some functions might not work at all on Android. So again, some decisions to consider. So personally, I do not intend to do anything with Android. And RIM, the latest report last week is RIM is looking more dead. Dead, sad, but dead. Now, there is another one to consider that we haven't talked about, and I know I'll keep going as long as I can here, is Windows Mobile 8, Microsoft. Now why? Because it's Microsoft. Microsoft has proven, hey, they can make mistakes for a while, Windows, Internet Explorer, blah, 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 but they finally get around to it, and they're going to have, rumor has it, they're going to come out with a Windows mobile tablet, and they already have the Windows Mobile 8 phone, right? Well, there's a lot of business users that do like Windows. I'm not one of them myself anymore, but there are, right? And that could be, and I'm interested in developing for that market because that could be a big market. And think of it this way too, there could be a lot of Windows users, desktop or notebook, who have an iPhone and or iPad. Because we're developing VIPorbit to run on Windows, so there's going to be a Windows version, believe it or not. There's going to be a Mac version, shared workgroup version, which will be a subscription, very affordable for the prosumer market. And I'm developing another product, so if you're going to do a family, here's what I'm faced with, and this is why we're doing what we're doing, in addition to it making money, because I want to generate revenue, obviously. So I started with the iPhone. I just came out with the iPad. This is newer architecture here. So now I've got to retrofit some of the newer stuff here into the iPhone version. Why? I don't have to do it, but there is a reason I do have to do it in my case. Because one of the first monthly subscription money-making products that we can create is we're calling VIP Sync. And that's a product that's designed for people that had the VIPorbit iPad version, and they also want VIPorbit on their phone because the phone is with them all the time, whereas their iPad is with them some of the time. But I want it on both because when I can use the iPad, it's a prettier machine to use, right? VIP Sync is going to cost $5 a month per user, month to month, or $45 a year in advance if you pay a year in advance. But what it means is I could be at a restaurant and I've got my phone and I just see somebody walk in and we talk and we schedule a lunch for next week and I'll update our discussion or whatever, right? I put it into my phone right there at the restaurant table. With VIP Sync, it real-time syncs to my iPad back at home. I don't care which device I input data on now, it's on all the devices. So now imagine how much more valuable VIP Sync becomes as a revenue stream and a purposeful product, a hub, if you will, if I have Windows in an iPhone and iPad. I want it to sync across all that, right?
Will it also sync on an Apple Mac?
Yes, we're doing a Mac version and a Windows version that'll be out by the end of the year. Yeah, Windows or Mac desktop / notebook, Windows desktop / notebook. So I'm going to compete against my first child, ACT. I'm going to be a better product. I'm going to make ACT look like an experiment, and I'm going to be a lot less expensive and appeal to more of the mass market. And for the first time, bring mobile relationship management to the mass market. That's mine. I'm going to conquer the world. Hey, if I don't have high goals, you know, I'm not going to reach as high as I can get to, right? I'm not stupid enough to know that I probably won't get there, but that's my goal. So anyway. All right, well, if no more questions, thank you. Again, a book for everybody and the holder if you want one.